Welcome to Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success podcast, providing business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs with the 3 Ins: insights, inspirations, and intentional actions. Delivered through monologues and dialogues, we address topics like leadership, productivity, time management, work-life balance, and challenges like stress, conflict, mental health, and much more. Please do not hold back from suggesting specific topics and guests you would like on this podcast. Greetings and welcome to this episode of Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success. Yes, this is one of those weeks where it is just me. What I want to do in this episode is continuing from the last episode, but in a very different way. Last episode was about team culture and team building. And this episode is going to focus completely in on that aspect, but in a different way. So what I want to do today is something that I thought about doing for a little while in these episodes, and it's definitely not going to be a lot of episodes, but the odd episode now and then I want to use to do a book review. I mean, I'm going to put review in air quotes here because it's not going to be like going through a book and reviewing the book in a traditional sense of a big book review. But it's going to be using a book and principles from a book that for me ties really well into mental fitness at the same time, and use that as just an inspiration, and using other people's language and tools to share that with you. And the few books I have in mind are the few books that I tend to use with my business clients when we are talking about either leadership or the individual personal journey of a business owner or business leader. And also in particularly when we're talking about building and growing teams and team cultures. So I don't have, and I have read a fair few books along the way, but I don't have many books I recommend and that I specifically use in those situations. But the few that I have chosen to use because I find them really useful for various reasons. And if you listen into more of these episodes where I look at a book, you will see that they're very different books. Um, but all of them have one thing in common, and that is a sense of simplicity in it. So the book I want to talk about today and bring into this episode is a book by Patrick Lencioni called The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. And let me just experiment with something here. Let's see if I can just share my screen here and show you the book. And then I want to write some aspects of what we're going to talk about today, so you get to to see that. So I just need to be pushing a few different buttons here, and then all going well, technology willing, you should now see something on the screen here. So that's the book. I do have this book, but not in a physical form to show you, because I prefer audiobooks. And I particularly like audiobooks like this that are story based. So it is a fictional story that he has made up, but instead of the classical kind of business book that talks about these principles that are in the book, instead of he has created a story, as it says here, a leadership fable. And then through that story, he then touches in on these 5 aspects that for him are the key aspects to actually having a successful team. and he's using the term dysfunction, and I will come to that in a moment. So whether you are like me or want to do audiobooks, then either way, whatever works for you. So I have this in an audiobook. The book I physically have that I can recommend is this one. And that's the title there is Overcoming the Five Dysfunctions of a Team, a field guide. So this is the actual workbook in which all the exercises and suggestions on how to deal with these five dysfunctions is all in this book. So it is a fantastic resource, and that's what that's a physical book I would definitely recommend to to have. So um, the five dysfunctions he displays in this way as a triangle. And the triangle that way around, where the bottom, and as we move up the triangle, is in terms of not so much importance, but more in terms of priority. So we have got to have a really functional team. We have got to start at the bottom. So the way I'm going to do it is my preferred way, which is in a way opposite to the way Patrick does it. So he talks about the five dysfunctions. So for example, the first one, the function, which is what I want to focus on, is trust. So what he says, dysfunction is a lack of trust. So when there is a lack of trust in the team, whether it is in between team members or between team and leadership or between leadership and team, then that heavily impacts the results that can be created and how well that team will be operating. So I'm going to take the lack of out and I'm going to kind of look at, we'll cross out here this for a moment and look at the five functions of a team because they have the exact same words, just without the lack of in front of it. Still lack of trust, it's trust. Now, what I also want to say before diving deeper into this is that it actually doesn't matter whether this is a team of two, say a marriage, or a family, or a larger team, or an entire corporation. So the principles are actually the same wherever there are two or more people gathered. So you can use this if you're not in a business setting where you have a team that you're leading. It works everywhere else where there are people. It also actually works as a society because that's also full of people. And so these principles, I really love this way of looking at it because it's relevant to wherever people are coming together. Whether it's out driving on the road, like there has to be trust there. Because if I don't trust that the people coming the other way are going to stay on their side of the road, I'm going to be a wreck. It's going to be really, really hard to get out on the road and drive, and it's going to be impossible to drive and be relaxed and enjoy the journey. So it works everywhere where there are people. So let's take a look at this first, excuse me, this first one. And of course, we're also going to relate this into mental fitness because what becomes clear as we go along, to grow these functions in any team, including growing them within ourselves if we're team leaders, that is going to take mental fitness at a reasonable level because most of these are actually not that easy. And I don't want to go into now in this episode why that is. That's for a different episode. So let's dive into the first one, trust. It is the first one. And it's the first one because nothing else can happen in a really optimal functional way if the trust is not there in the team. If you, we'll take it from the viewpoint of you being the leader. If you do not trust your team, how are you going to communicate and how are you going to get the team to do what you want them to do? Of course, trust is not a black and white thing. It's not like there's 100% trust or there's no trust. It will be somewhere in between 0 and 100. If it's on the lower side, what happens when we don't trust people is that we will more likely we're going to step into things like micromanaging, where we're going to really keeping an eye out on everybody and checking in on everybody. And generally, that's not the ideal way to run a team because one, people don't like that. And as a leader, you probably have more important things to do than that. So if the trust from you to your team is on a lower side, then that will heavily impact on how well that team is functioning. Looking at it the other way, if the team members don't trust the leader, clearly that is also going to impact on how they relate to that leader and how they deal with getting done what needs to be done. Not only that, there's also the sideways trust, which is a trust between team members. So if you're in a team, say you're out on the sports field, and you don't trust certain players, then you're probably not that likely to pass a ball to those players as much as to other people that you trust more. So in a business team, it is the same sideways. If we don't trust the people that we are working alongside, we are going to be more on edge. And we are also most likely going to perform not at our best. So trust is the foundation. Let's take a marriage and a family. Again, if we don't trust each other, that is going to impact on how that relationship is. And it's same in a family, trust with the children and the children trusting the parents. So trust is at the foundation of people coming together, whether it's a club, whether it is in sports, whether it is in business. Now, the solution, of course, like first, like many of the tools I love using, they have to have two functions. They have to be both useful as a diagnostic tool to get awareness, to get clarity on where are things at. And then they also ideally have to be useful to help us focus in on where do we need to focus to shift and improve things. So the first step here for you is to look at what are your trust levels in general in life, and then trust levels within the situation where you might be either inside a team or leading a team. And again, it's not never black and white. So you can go on a scale from 0 to 10. How much do I trust my team? It will be different from individual people in the team, but I suggest starting with the team as a whole. What is my level of trust on a scale from 0 to 10? I'm not asking you to tell me or anybody else, but just for yourself, just go, okay, yeah, that's probably a 7. Then that gives you a sense of, yeah, that's where it's at, and then that then becomes then the foundation for, so if I want to take that to an 8, what would need to happen? What can I do? Not what can the team do, because you're the one listening to this. What can I do to lift my trust of the team? Let's say it's a 3, then Okay, that will explain why maybe a lot of things are not unfolding and happening the way you would like it to happen in the team. And then the question again is the same. So, if I want to take it from a three to a four to a five, how can I do that? And there are plenty of suggestions on how to do that in the book. So I'm not going to go into that in itself because that's just going to be way too long, way too much. So for today, this one is more giving you a framework here and some questions you can start asking yourself to grow yourself and grow your team. Of course, it is then also the same in like if you're in a team and you're looking at what are this is a trust level within the team from your perspective, and what is your trust level of your boss. And again, just pop a number on it from 0 to 10, and then ask yourself, what can I do to increase that trust? And it's not about becoming foolish and go, I'm just going to be 10, I'm going to trust everybody. Obviously, that ain't going to work. Um, we do have to be careful. Yeah? But we can ask the question, how do I move? How do I improve from where I currently am sitting? Again, depending on where you are, whether you're in the team or you're leading the team. Building trust within ourselves. Of course, we also then have to look at what level do I trust myself? And that's really where it starts for real leaders, not for managers, but for real leaders, is that they're willing to look at themselves and go, how much do I trust life? How much do I trust myself in life? And whatever that number might be overall at this moment in time in your life, that most likely is going to impact on the way you relate to other people, regardless of whether it's family, friends, other business leaders. You might be in a leadership team, you might be the owner of the business, and so on. So our own individual relationship with trust heavily, heavily impacts on how we show up in life and therefore also in business. So my invitation is have an honest look for yourself to then grow that sense of trust. That's where mental fitness really comes in. If our mental fitness is on the low side, it's not going to happen. Yeah. It takes mental fitness to take risks, and lifting up levels of trust is risky. And we don't have to get stupid about it, but if we do it well and we do it in little increments, then we will get the learning and the growth that comes with that. So let's move on. Whatever the level of trust is within your team determines how well we deal with the next thing. And from a dysfunction point of view, is called lack of conflict. I'm going to here put it as the strength part, which is conflict. I go, conflict? I don't want conflict. Well, then don't be a leader. Just stay in bed. Don't get out of bed. If you want to live out in this world, there's going to be conflict. Whether it's conflict on the road, whether it's conflict in the country, in the political scene, in the family, in the marriage. You can't run a successful business team without conflict, period. So we have to shift this notion of I don't want conflict to how do I meet conflict in a positive, functional way. Right back into the definition of mental fitness, which is mental fitness is our ability to meet challenges in a positive way without the stress, frustration, and anger. So wherever there is growth and success, a business success, there will be conflict. It's a good thing if we meet the conflict in a positive way. And the level to which we can meet the conflict depends on, yes, the level of trust. The lower the trust level is, whatever way that it goes from the top down, down up, the lower the level of trust there is, the less likely you can deal with conflict in a useful way. And it just becomes a pain in the ass. It becomes stress, it becomes frustration, it might become anger, and none of that is useful in growing a team and running a business. Conflict is useful because it's through conflict we grow and learn. It's through conflict we solve problems. So my invitation to you is to, if you don't already have that mindset around conflict, we're going to start shifting conflict from something bad to something good. It is in this structure from Patrick Lencioni because it is important. And the dysfunction, as I said, is lack of conflict. If there's not conflict enough, there is not growth enough. There's not learning enough. There's not progress enough. The trust is the foundation to meet that conflict. The next step he calls commitment. Or the dysfunction is lack of commitment. So if there's within the team or within the leader, there is a lack of commitment to do what needs doing to get the results that we want to get to. Same in life. If you want to be super fit, you need to commit to exercising. If you want to be super healthy, you need to commit to living in a healthy lifestyle way. So to be able to commit to reach the goals in the business, the sales goals or product goals or team goals, whatever it may be, a level of commitment is needed. Like the word I prefer here, I'll put it on top here, is buy-in. What is the level of buy-in? So a manager standing in front of the team and say, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do it within this time frame, in that time frame, and it's going to be done at this level, then this level, to this level of quality, and you got 3 weeks. All the best. Um, Quite possibly, as soon as he's out of the room, the team's going to roll their eyes and go, yeah, whatever. Hmm? Just being told what we want does not equal buy-in. It does not mean that the team is committed. Just telling the sports team to go out on the field and win the game is not enough. The players have to buy in to that goal in order for it to work. So it is the same in a marriage. Again, what is the level of buy-in to the relationship? If it's like, oh yeah, it's nice to be in a relationship, we'll see how it goes. And then when the shit hits the fan, and then you pack up and leave. So to build a really strong, lasting, wonderful, long-term relationship or marriage takes a tremendous amount of buy-in, tremendous amount of commitment to do that because the going is going to get tough. There's going to be conflict. So the same with our business teams. If there's no conflict, then buy-in by default is going to be less. When there is conflict, that means that there is a questioning, like we are being told, oh, we need to reach these goals. And if that's not being challenged and questioned and looked at and say, hey, I don't think this is going to work, somebody in the team says, if we can't have that conversation, have that conflict, if we just tell the team what we want, the buy-in will be lower. But if we can have the conflict, if we can have the discussions, if we can have the arguments, then by the time we get to, okay, who's on board? We're going to get more buy-in. People are more likely to buy in when they have been listened to. So if we don't give the team a chance to give feedback to what it is we want to achieve, they are less likely to buy into what we want them to buy into. It's called engagement and allowing that conflict and that questioning that might bring up. And through those interactions, people feel engaged. They feel they are being listened to. We're back to that episode a number of weeks ago. We always seek to understand before seeking to be understood. Like that principle comes in this part here about buy-in, about commitment. So the more we are engaging with the team, the more we are dealing with the questions and the conflicts that might be there, the buy-in is going to be much higher, which of course is a good thing, isn't it? Now it's much easier just to tell people what to do, and we don't need to be particularly mentally fit to do that. We just need to have the right job title. But that doesn't mean we're going to get the results. And definitely doesn't mean we're going to get the results in a more easeful, joyful way. Back to mental fitness. The higher our mental fitness is, the more able we are to have those conversations and then also to make the commitment ourselves. If we're in the team or if we're the leader, say, I'm committed for us as a team to get there, and I will do everything I can to support the team in getting there. The next one, and again, as I think you can see by now, they're building on each other. We can't just start in the middle and expect a high level of buy-in if the trust is not there and if the conflict is not there. So the next one is accountability. And the dysfunction is lack of accountability. So when people say, well, uh, uh, are you on board with this? Like we said, we're going to do this. We're on board. And people go, yeah, that they will nod or say yes, because that's what they're paid to do. But if it's not honest, then as soon as the boss is not watching, it is our nature as human beings to do as little as possible to get the results we need to get. So we become less accountable the less we have bought in. So the more we buy into the team goal of going on the field and winning this match, the more we are going to hold each other accountable and ourselves accountable. And go, oh, I slipped up there. I didn't do my best here. I apologize to the team and I will do better. So we own up to that because we have decided to be accountable. It also means that when there are teammates that are not playing at the level that we decided we were going to play as a team, it is now easier to hold them accountable by saying, hey, we promised to do X, Y, Z here, and you're not quite doing that. Like, why is that? What is happening? How can I help? Or whatever language you want to use in that situation. Same if you're the leader of the team and checking in and helping people to be accountable. But that also means you need to be accountable yourself towards the team with what you're doing and how you are leading the team towards the outcomes that you want. So the higher the buy-in, the higher the commitment in the team is, the more we can hold each other and ourselves accountable. So it's absolutely critical because, again, we are human beings, and in general, we will tend to do away with as little as we can to get the results that we want. So I personally know that I need accountability in order to not procrastinate too much. And that would be like if I was in a business team like that, then I would need that accountability. And when I say I'm gonna promise to do X, Y, Z today or this week, then I would expect that there's somebody there who's gonna hold me accountable to that. Just like I hold my clients accountable to the promises that they say. And I have an accountability buddy that I meet every week. And we hold each other accountable as colleagues with the things that I don't want to do, but I need to do. So I've been meeting with this accountability buddy for over 3 years now, pretty much every week. And of course, there was an initial trust there. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done it. We're in the same boat and we want to do the best we can. But over the time together, that trust is building, which then allows us to push each other a little bit more and have some uncomfortable conversations. That's a conflict. And then when we say, yeah, this week I'm going to do this, there's a higher level of buy-in to that. And then when we come to the next meeting, we know because the other person writes down what I said that I was going to do. And if I don't talk into it, my body will go, so how did XYZ go? And then I have to own up to that. And for me, that is really, 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 really valuable. Now, the last one is the simplest one in a sense, but it's the one we want to get to, which is results. But if we focus too much on the results, and not creating that beautiful foundation of trust and being able to argue about things and committing to making things and holding each other accountable. Obviously, the results are going to be less. We are going to get better results if we have built all these steps and followed along and build them in this order. You can't start with results. You can't start with accountability either. You can only start with accountability at the level that the others are. So my invitation again is for you. Now look at all of these. Look at where you are sitting in each of these for yourself. Um, and then wherever the trust level is at, that is the place to start. So, um, how are we going to finish this today? I don't know. There you go, I could say. There you got those principles there. Um, Hopefully you get a chance to, if you're just listening to this to just view it in video format so you can see those five. functions or dysfunctions. And then I strongly recommend to get at least that field guide as a real book, and then highlight and mark in and see, and because there are exact exercises in there in how to grow each of these five elements. And I can strongly recommend like the book itself, particularly as an audio, because it's made as a storybook. And of course, if you're one of those people who love reading books, get the book on either the real format or as a Kindle book. That's my invitation for you. And of course, my other invitation is to pause for a moment and make some mental notes, if not physical notes, of what was your biggest takeaway today from this episode. And then, of course, I would love for you to pop a comment or two in of what that might be, or any questions you have, or any experience you have in any of those areas I talked about today, and share that so other people can benefit from that. And finally, as per usual, always, please look out for ways that you can consciously grow your mental fitness. Till next time. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success. If you have stories of how mental fitness has benefited you that you are happy to share, go to my website, mikal.nz, click on podcast and fill in the guest application form. If you want direct support from me utilizing my 40 years of mental fitness learning and practice, email me at coach@mikal.nz or message me on LinkedIn. Any feedback, review, share, follow, like, or any other good stuff is, of course, appreciated. Thank you for listening to Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success podcast. I'm your host, Mikal Nielsen.